Hey, Patriots. Happy Wednesday. Today we have a special guest on our podcast. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Shale.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on here.
Of course.
Today's also a special day for Mr. Shale because it's his birthday.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, happy birthday. So the first question is, teachers have always had those days when they walk into class with a lesson plan and everything seems to go wrong. Can you share a particularly hilarious or chaotic classroom moment that still makes you laugh till this day?
Been doing this a long time. I probably don't remember a lot of the lessons that totally went sideways on me. I think now it's more, sometimes we have what teachers will call, teachable moments where something will come up and maybe you won't do what was planned, but there's still some value in that. You talk about something going on around school or current events or stuff like that. I don't have any, listen, I guarantee there were lots of bad lessons early in my tenure as a teacher. I don't remember anything going really horrifically wrong, but it's more like I'm less concerned with that now. Now, if there's something that kind of comes up organically and it's going to make for a good discussion, I'm totally cool with that, and we'll bump the planned lesson back a day.
So what's one memorable spirit day?
Oh, I got a good one here. So we have the pie eating contest, right? Which I love. I'm somehow amazed we still do this, but I think it's great. Kids would the way it works is after they blow the whistle, so to speak, after 2 minutes, we weigh how much each pie weighs to see, how much was eaten. Yeah. So kids used to just like fling it out of there with their face. So now we put it back in, and it's kind of gross. Oh. But this is literally years ago. I was the head girls soccer coach. The girl who was my goalie, she was the senior pie eating person, and she was determined to win because she had lost the previous year. So they're eating the pie, and it's gross. Everyone's all covered in purple. She's done. They blow the whistle, and I have gloves on, and I'm putting the stuff from the periphery of the table back into the pie pan, and I'm like, why are there carrots in here? There's no carrots in a blueberry pie. She had eaten a light lunch of salad and puked it up in her pie, but then kept eating.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was totally gross. But she won, and there was little bits of salad in her blueberry pie, so I guess it was all worth it.
It was worth the win, I guess.
Yeah, it was worth. Yeah, she seemed fine with it.
Well,
on that note,
yeah, on that note, if you weren't a teacher and you had the opportunity to go back in time, what career path would you choose and why?
When I was a kid, my dad was I grew up in Somerset County. He was the Somerset County public defender. And I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer as well. So when I went to college, I was a history and political science major with a women's studies concentration, all of which I thought would kind of lead me towards law school. I got out of college and I just didn't want to go back to school right away. And my old high school soccer coach, I kind of still kept in touch with him. And he said, hey, I need a JV soccer coach. Would you want to do it? And I had just finished playing 4 years of college soccer. So I was like, oh, sure. That seems like it'd be cool. It wasn't a lot of money or anything, but it kind of seemed like a lot of money then. So I did that, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm not saying I had like an epiphany where I thought it was a calling or anything like that. I used to paint houses in the summer, so I guess maybe I'd be like a full-time house painter. But I don't know, there's no pension in that and no health benefits, so I don't know if that.
Speaking of jobs, if you were to choose like any government job and someone were to just hand it to you,
I have no desire to like run for public office. What I think would be cool in government would be to be the guy behind the guy or the gal. To be like a chief of staff or be an advisor. I don't want to be the guy out there. I have way too thin of a skin to be taking all that abuse. I'd either get angry or get upset or get stressed about it. But to be behind the scenes, I think would be a really cool job.
Those are all the general questions. Now we're going to get into some student-based questions.
Oh, okay, let's have it.
So some are from personal students. You might know who they are from the sound of the question. Why did you choose to stop teaching APUSH?
It's twofold. I did it for 25 years. I did it my second year teaching up until now. So I did it for a long time. But the other thing was way back in like 2001, 2, 3, I wrote the curriculum. It's really the College Board for AP Government, but I also wrote the curriculum for the legal studies class. And then I had all these AP classes. There were years where I only had AP. So I didn't teach legal studies. And the class kind of fizzled. And I just kind of wanted like a change of pace. I do enjoy still having AP government, having like one foot in that world. You can kind of get deeper into policy, and the kids are usually a little more motivated. The other portion of my schedule that I picked up about, I don't even know, 8, 9 years ago is history for ESL students. And we have a really growing ESL population at Hills. I got 2 students yesterday who moved here from Palestine. 7, 8 years ago, we had a lot of kids fleeing the war in Syria. We've gotten a number of Ukrainian students the last couple of years due to the war there. And it's so different from teaching like an AP class. It's kind of like a nice balance, if you will. I find it really rewarding. It's challenging, but it's a different kind of challenges.
Yeah. And did you enjoy your last year as a teacher for APUSH?
I don't even remember who was in there. So yeah,
I was in that class.
oh yeah, it was amazing.
Mr. Shale.
It was great. Yeah. Oh yeah, I enjoyed every
Student
year.
is right here.
No, it was by no means like the kids. The kids
Yeah.
are
Yeah,
always
yeah,
good.
of
The kids,
course.
like I never had any issues with the students. 2 years from now or 3 years from now, Miss Stoffi said, "Hey, can you go back and do AP US 2?" I'd be fine with that. I know the material, like the back of my hand kind of stuff, and I enjoy the material.
Jumping into the next question, which does not relate to APUSH at all. Why do you not let students sleep or eat in your
It's
classes?
school policy. It's my job.
Very direct.
Yeah.
Speaking of food, what are your opinions on Emily's pierogies?
Oh, Emily Kozak made really good pierogies. She randomly offered it in class one day. My wife's part Polish, and she likes pierogies. I like them too. So I was like, oh, sure. And I really did it just, try to be nice. Emily's such a nice girl. But I brought them home, and my wife was worried that my daughter wouldn't eat the ones with onions, so she went to the local Polish market. So we had both, and in a side-by-side taste test, they gave Emily's the nod.
Oh, nice.
I
So
just want to say,
they were
I've been
good.
on a
Emily.
wait list
You're on a
Emily's
wait-
pierogies for like months now.
Emily, if you're listening to this, which we
Emily,
know you
please.
are.
There's a wait list. Wow. They
There's
were
a
good,
wait
though. They were
list.
good.
Yeah, so now we have a question from Miss Valerio, the art teacher.
Oh.
Well, she wants to know if the swim team here at Hills has tryouts, or do you guys just let anybody?
We do have tryouts, primarily because, it's a safety issue. Believe it or not, occasionally we'll have kids try out who literally can barely swim. But the bigger issue is we have a finite amount of room in the pool. If we have too many kids, you just can't physically fit, and they look like salmon, swimming upstream. So we do have tryouts. Unfortunately, some years we do have to cut kids, which is awful.
All right, so we got a question from Akshat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from government class. Do you look at the bad students and try to raise your kids the opposite way?
I don't, but along those lines, I will say this. I've not occasionally, a lot of times, we have some kids that are really good kids. I will say, I've said like in passing to my wife or a friend, be like, man, like, I'd like to meet that kid's parents and ask them, what's one thing you did? How much of it is nature versus nurture? Maybe they were, like, what did you do? Because you just have, what a great kid. What a really, really good kid.
You're known to have so many opinions and be really forward with your opinions, which everybody loves. And if anyone's even been to Mr. Shale's class, he has those devil horns that he likes to wear whenever he's gonna.
My devil's advocate horn.
Yeah, whenever he's about to say a controversial statement. So, what is one controversial opinion that you have that sparked everyone's attention?
Oh, we had the PCTI debates.
Oh, the PCTI.
in class last year.
Well, I mean, a couple years ago, I put those little signs on my wall saying things like, remember the civil in civil discourse. You can disagree without being disagreeable. And what I say over and over and over again is, I don't care what your opinion is. I just want you to have a well-informed opinion. You should be able to listen to other people's opinions and, not take it personally. I think one of the real, and maybe this is a controversial opinion, I think one of the real depressing things that we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years is the lowering of the public discourse. Public officials calling people by names and attacking them personally. There's a lot of things I don't talk about, and it really kind of bums me out. But as a teacher, as much as I would love to discuss some of these, it's just not worth it. And it kind of bums me out in a way. I think back on some of the discussions I had years ago, but now I'm like, man, if there's even a slim chance this can be misinterpreted, and next thing you know, I'm getting dragged in front of the Board of Ed. Not that I would say anything inflammatory or anything like that. Like what I always say to my kids is, and you guys probably heard me if you don't remember it, I always say to them, I say, don't take this the wrong way because it sounds like I'm being mean.
Yeah.
I don't care enough about you to try to indoctrinate you. I'm not at home with a little cheat sheet. Another one shares my views.
I actually thought of one other thing. You used to mention how you used to see the student council run their elections. And since you're a government teacher, what's one student election that
1 year, I guess the elections are in May, right? For student elections, right?
I think so, yeah.
So I had
Towards the end of the
kid
year.
in my history class. He had just moved here. He was a young man named Sanjeev. He had just moved here from India. Sweet as can be, just the sweetest kid. I always worried about him, the harsh realities of being in high school. Kids can be mean or whatever. This young man was so sweet. He wore his pants like 6 inches from his chin. So he came to me and he's like, Mr. Shale, you teach government. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, please, I don't think AP government's for you. He's like, no. He's like, I want to run for class president. And I'm like, immediately I was like, oh boy. All I could think was this poor kid's going to get massacred in an election. He's going to have his heart broken. And I'm like, well, and I kind of gently tried to talk him out of it, but there was no talking him out of it. And then in his speech, he's like making these promises. And as you guys know, and this is not a repudiation of the way we do student government, you only have so much power. Yeah. So I'm like, Sanjeev, I don't know if you want to make these promises, man. Like, he's like, no, Mr. Shale, trust me. I'm like, all right, fine. So it comes to the day of the speeches, and I'm down there with my class. And all these kids are getting up there giving speeches. And poor Sanjeev is up there. But I guess word had gotten out. Some of the kids knew him. And he gets up there, they're like, Sanjeev! And everyone's like chanting his name. And I was like looking at the crowd, like making sure no one was being mean. Yeah. And meanwhile, he's running against like some girl who's been president since like 2nd grade,
Yeah.
And he's like, he finishes his speech. He's like, and if I'm elected, I promise to get us name brand pizza in lunch and a Slurpee machine. And everyone's like, ah! He finishes his speech. We vote the next day, and he wins. I show up in school in September. We have a Slurpee machine and we have Domino's.
No way.
Swear to God.
How did he
His
do
dad
that?
worked in like the restaurant industry and donated. We had a
genius.
Slurpee machine,
No way.
the red and the blue. It only lasted like a year, and we were getting like Domino's brought in every day. I don't know. This is before we had Sodexo.
He kept his word.
Yeah, it was a campaign promise he came through on.
All right, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
If you would like to be interviewed, both staff and students, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at 1261-8467 at wayneschools.com, or you can see Miss Glauchi in room 225. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Mr. Shale for being on here.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you next time.